This episode is proudly supported by Anchor Food Professionals, makers of mainland cheese. Here's Andy Sy from the Notting Hill Hotel.
We've been using them for a few years now, using their tasty and mozzarella cheese. We go through about 135 kilos a week at the moment. So a huge number. So we use it for our garlic bread, our pizzas, our parmas, our bechamel, our cheese sauce for our croquettes and arancini, throughout our lasagnas, anywhere we can really. It's such a good product. You know, having the freshest chips to your fresh chicken to a freshly crumbed schnitzel and topping up with a really high quality cheese is amazing.
For more information, go to anchorfoodprofessionals.com.
I started from nothing and grew a business, and I love to see lots of other young people do that. And if I can help in any way or shape or form, it gives me satisfaction.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Australia is considered by many to have the most mature coffee market in the world, thanks to a bevy of operators who laid the foundations and changed the game many years ago. Where is coffee now compared to a couple of decades ago, and how do you bring a sustainable model into a product that is in high demand every single day? Dion Cohen is the co-founder of Single O in Sydney. Dion, how are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to get you on the show. Single O has been around a long time. How are things at the moment?
Yeah, no, things are good. You know, it's been an interesting year with coffee and pricing and good clients. The hospo is obviously going through a bit of up and down in various areas. The restaurant industry and just the general the view on wages and electricity prices and everything else going up, and coffee. Thank God people are starting to raise prices in coffee, and you're not going to be buying a $4 cup of coffee, and it's which has been good. I guess the media's helped that a bit, as well as the reality of life. So, but yeah, we good.
You're one of the founders of Single O, which is legendary in Sydney, and one of the key factors in the maturity of the coffee market. Like, how long ago did it start, and what was it like back then?
We started 2003. No one really knew what coffee was then. In those days, it was sort of the Victoria, the Lavazza, Segafredo, black bag, red bag, purple bag, lots of barricades and umbrellas, and no one actually knew exactly what was in the bag apart from coffee beans. So we started in a little shop in Surrey Hills. We put our little 15 kilo roaster called Big Boris, and we put it in the shop and started. I guess we sat around the table and thought, what are we going to name our business? It's like, hey, we should do like the Brown Green Coffee Co. Or, it's like, and then someone, my wife said, what about Single Origin? It's like, oh, that sounds fantastic. So we went and we opened up Single Origin roasters, and then, and then started, I guess, talking about what's Single Origin, provenance, variety, what's in your coffee, and started, I guess, telling people what they're actually drinking. This is an East Timor from Ifu, and, this is a Mexican chapas. It's got, bold fruits. And I guess from there, that led to a lot of the chefs coming down to sort of, taking their view on produce, which led to sort of, I guess, I started as a chef in that shop. Talking about food, I know you love food, and chef and all those things. But I started as a chef, but I had no knowledge of what to do with food, and that was my role for about a week until I think it was Simon Thompson who came in for a review or something, and my wife said, "Hey, you forgot his toast." I think it was Short Black or Scott Bowles or one of them. It was like, I forgot his toast. I said, like, oh, damn. So I started chopping up the toast and I sliced my finger, which I still have a scar on. And so I went up to the Crown Street depot, like Surrey Hills hospital, gave me 3 stitches. I came back down and I said, you know what, fuck this shit, man. I'm not going to be a chef. I'm going to, start selling coffee. So I landed up sort of, going upstairs. We had a little office upstairs. And I thought to myself, well, who could I phone that has a coffee shop or can start, so I used to know John McGraw, and he came into the shop every day, and I said, hey, John, you've got a cafe in Edgecliff, can we supply you? And then that sort of led to some of my background in corporate. And I do remember a story which is quite a funny one, which was there was my sister's ex-boyfriend had a coffee shop in the city. So he used to use All Press, I think it was. And I went in there and I said, hey, Hilton, can you buy, like, can you try my coffee? This is like when I just started out. And he said, yeah, sure, I'll give it a bash, blah, blah, blah. I said, just give me your you're obviously in coffee, you've got a great cafe, give me your input. And then about a week later, I'm sort of wondering, like, Hilton hasn't phoned me. I was like, why hasn't he phoned? So I'm like texting him, no response. It's like quiet, right? And then so I landed up going in there like 2 weeks later and I said, man, like, why didn't you phone me? He said, Dion, let me tell you something. I don't think you should be selling that product anywhere in this country. It was disgusting. I was like, okay. He said, mate, if I were you, I would reconsider your business strategy or what your options are. And I was like, great. Okay. So I walked out there and I went, you know what? No, I know my coffee's good. You just don't understand what good coffee is, right? So anyway, to this day, Surrey Hills still serves the same profile of that coffee, which we classify as Reservoir Blend, which is a high acidity and very fruit-driven product, which is not what people are used to in a palate. The chefs love it because it's complex and stuff, but his response was like, you shouldn't be doing this. This shouldn't go back to property or wherever you came from, mate. So obviously he was the ex-boyfriend of my sister, which obviously didn't help at the time. But, so I always look at that story. I haven't actually seen Hilton, but maybe one day I might bump into him and say, thanks for the motivation for actually trying to drive and build my business, mate. So, yeah.
What was it like? What was it like selling to consumers and getting them over the line? Was it challenging the first sort of couple of years?
Yeah, I guess it started. I mean, Single O was driven by the chefs and produce, right? So we used to have Mark Best and Kylie Kwong and Matt Moran and all the guys used to come in there and really just sit down and have great coffee and talk about the origins and where they came from and stuff. And that sort of, I guess, we were an industry brand. We're still an industry brand. We're not a mass consumer brand. We pride ourselves on high quality, really good customer service. Innovation is obviously a key part and a big sustainability leader in the game. We were the only brand that went out with no brand on it. So we used to deliver silver bags and people used to say, like, why don't you give me an umbrella or barricade? And I was like, well, if you look on the street, you see 4,000 brands that have got barricades and umbrellas. So if I gave you that, I'd just be the same as every other brand. So, it's what you need to come in and experience or find Single O in a cafe. And once you come in there, you realise it's Single O's because the way they treat their customers and the way they present themselves. It was about supporting the cafe owner, not about shoving I said to someone, like, if I put a brand on, I should be paying you as a cafe owner to put my brand on your cafe, right? So when they zigged, we zagged, and that's how we slowly sort of became I wouldn't say a rebel in the industry, but more so a leader in doing things, trying to do things different. And we're still to this day, we just launched an amazing thing called Give a Puck, which is basically collecting coffee grounds into and not producing landfill out of producing methane. So that's been a great thing we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. So it's hence why we haven't caught up because it's been a bit hectic.
Well, I'm glad that we have found the time. I want to talk about this initiative that you're part of with Reground. Go into depth with it. Why is it so important? And give us a bit of the nitty gritty of what's going on there, because sustainability is such an important feature and coffee is such a high volume product. What is it that you guys are doing that's helping?
Well, I guess it's we've been working with Reground for about 5 or 6 years in Melbourne. So we basically collect. We work with Reground and our clients to collect their coffee grounds on a weekly or bi-weekly, or depending on what volumes they do. Reground give you a Reground bin, And basically, we looked at it and going, well, we grow coffee. It's a climate is killing most. In 2050, probably half the coffee growing regions are not going to exist because of climate change. So, the biggest thing we spend so much time on growing and nurturing the coffee, and then roasting it, and then extracting it, and then giving it to the customer. The last part of the coffee is the spent coffee grounds, which is knocked into the knock tubes, right? So with that, we sort of felt that coffee, if you're specialty coffee or you're in coffee generally, you haven't finished the cycle, right? Because people dump that in their landfill. It goes to landfill, and spent coffee grounds actually produces 30% more, 30% of the. We did an audit going back a bit, but we did an audit. We're B Corp certified company. We did an audit and worked out what is the biggest emissions in our business. Obviously, shipping is the number one thing, bringing coffee from other countries, and the second largest was 31 point something percent was basically spent coffee grounds going into landfill. So, which we didn't know. Like, we just said, I thought it would be, I don't know, running my gas or electricity or things like that. But generally speaking, they said, well, if everyone took the spent coffee grounds after they dropped it in the knock tube, and they've just basically separated it from, either organic food waste, or most of it goes into landfill, and it produces methane, which is so much worse. So hence Reground came around. We've been working with them for 5 or 6 years. We wanted to bring them to New South Wales. So basically, we've launched, Give a Puck, where Reground, I think there's about 35 or 40 cafes already on board in the first week, which is amazing. And, we wanted to finish the cycle of where our coffee is from a coffee growing to a complete product. We wanted to basically put it back to the earth. So you can put 25 or up to about 25% of coffee straight into the soils, and it becomes fertilizer. So they will pick up their bins every week, depending on they work out the schedule. The cost for that is really much of a par with what you're paying anyway, because at the moment you're just dumping your spent coffee grounds into your landfill bins or your general waste bins, right? So all you're trying to do now is separate, and we then deliver that to Reground, deliver that to community gardens. So like Waverley councils come on board, and various councils. So, and also deliver to mom and dad that has a farm and want coffee grounds to be delivered to them on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So we just thought finishing what we do on the planet is obviously important, right? Which is a big thing for the future of coffee growing and our lives. So we thought that, we weren't aware of this, and obviously it shocked us, and just said, well, we can do something that's quite simple. Is just you knock the pucks, whatever you want to call them, they're called pucks, into a knock tube. So it's separated anyway when you make coffee. And you're filling up these bins on a daily basis, depending on the volumes of these coffee shops. So why not just separate it into a specific bin, and then a company can pick it up and deliver it for free to people that need it? Because the soil needs it, right? So that's, I guess, the summary of what Reground and Singular have done in New South Wales. And there's, there was thousands of cafes that I think they said there was 70 million. Reground have offset about 70 million kilos of coffee grounds over the since they started. So it's a massive thing, and yeah, it is. It sort of, I think everyone was like, what? 30% of our we are producing 30% more than what we wanting to do. And if we can all take a stand and work together as cafes and roasters and people in the industry, then at least we're going to try and do something that, might be small, but it's still very big. So, yeah.
How does it feel for you as an operator that's really laid a foundation and set Australia on an amazing journey with coffee, but finishing that loop and introducing such amazing sustainability into your business model?
I think it's been born and bred with us. We were, I think upwards, I'm looking at my solar on my warehouse for my manufacturing plant at the moment, it's 15 years old. So I was one of the first, if not the first person to put solar on my roof. It's just, I guess being sustainable is something that my wife and I are very passionate about. We're going to leave our children and their children and children's, and I think it's very important to do something. If you're going to do something for business, do it for a purpose. Don't do it for, we didn't set out Single-O to do it for money, right? I mean, if we did that, we would have done things a lot differently. I mean, we don't brand our cups, because I don't like to look down the, no disrespect to the coffee cup roasters out there, but every single brand is sitting in the gutter, right? So I just like, why would my brand want to be in the gutter? That's not the reason why we started it. So, I guess the money eventually comes because people appreciate what you do, and that's a wonderful thing, but it wasn't driven for that. It was driven for do something for the good of the world. And if you're going to do something, question what everyone else has done, right? I don't have barricades and umbrellas. I don't have branded cups. I don't have, we also, we created the juggler, which is the milk dispensing system. So, in many years back, we said, well, why do you have plastic milk bottles on the cafe benchtop? It's plastic, and everyone just shoves it, heats it up in the steam wand and squeezes this thing and then dumps it in, and then the guy picks it up and it goes into landfill, whatever, recyclable. Who knows, right? So I said, well, why can't we just like come get it out of a tap? Or I was on another podcast the other day, and I was like, we were actually thinking of bringing just a cow into the cafe and just literally fitting the udders with like things and just pumping out good milk. Obviously not legal, but it was the concept of like, you go to a bar and you get a beer on tap, right? And they come in kegs and they reuse. So like, why couldn't you come up with a solution that is reusing milk dispensing? So hence the juggler was created. So we try and innovate in what we do. We try and question everything that people do and go, well, why is it done that way? And generally speaking, I don't know, it's fun, it's challenging. My wife is a futuristic thinker, and, she thinks 10 years ahead of the world she wants to save the planet, and that's who she's born and bred to be. And I follow, obviously, being the husband as much as I'm passionate about it with her. So, yeah.
You mentioned a bit earlier on about corporate life before this. Tell us about that period of time, and why did you make that switch to coffee?
A bit of a background. I was a professional gymnast for many, many years. I started, my grandmother, they used to catch me at 5 a.m. when I was born in Cape Town, South Africa. So at 5, when I was 5, there was a lady that I used to basically turn over my little dustbin, if you want, rubbish bin, and I used to open up my door at 5 and go down the lift into the elevator. We lived on the beachfront in Sea Point, a beautiful little part of the world, and I used to walk across the road at 4 a.m. in the morning and dump my rubbish in the middle of the separation between the two roads. But no one knew about this, right? Except one day, these two old ladies found me at the age of 4.5 or 5, dumping my rubbish at 4 a.m. in the morning. So, which was quite random. Anyway, I was doing this for years, and no one really knew. And then they had to change the locks and increase the height of the lifts button and everything like that. And my late grandmother said, like, he's obviously got something going on there, but maybe you should send him to gymnastics, because I used to like swing on the lamp, and I used to try and do somersaults. I walked when I was like 8 months old, and so I landed up being a gymnast, right, for whatever reason, and I basically became obsessed with being a professional athlete. So I then immigrated to Australia, and I didn't have. I had to go to university because I needed something. I left gym because I broke too many bones, and I was getting too old. And I studied a bachelor building degree in UTS, and I started building McDonald's stores and project managing and stuff like that. And over the time, I then started my own business with an older guy who was my first boss, which is actually at Bill Corp, Tony Suka. And there was a guy there that actually I was the first cadet of Bill Corp, right? So anyway, over the years, I sort of grew my property skills, and I then started this corporate advisory business with this guy, Andrew. And I was young. I was 26 years of age. And then over a couple of years, the BDO, Nelson Parkhill at the time, or BDO, a big accounting company, we did some work with the Cronulla Sharks and blah, 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 so be it. And then they said, hey, why don't we buy half your business? And I was like, oh, okay, well, that sounds fun. You know, I've got a partner that I can grow the business and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after about a year and a half, I realised that I was not a corporate person by any stretch of the imagination. And I went, this is not for me. I basically walked into a board meeting and I just said, you know what, guys, fuck this shit, man. Just sell my shares. I don't care what you pay me, but I'm fucking sick of tired of being a corporate idiot, sitting in a corporate suit, which I don't think I've ever worn a suit since, and I don't even own a suit. So I was like, well, you know, why would I want to do this with my life? I'm not happy. I used to just come home. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is rubbish. I don't care about the money, whatever. So I left there, but what triggered the whole idea is that I used to spend time in coffee shops and, you know, dealing with having coffee and having meetings with the corporate world. And I sort of realized that coffee shops gave you a sort of a place of warmth and care, and hospitality was, people work so hard for that. But, you know, they don't make a lot of money, but you wake up in the morning wanting to share your life with someone, right? It's like it's an emotional experience when Jimmy comes in every day and says, you know, hey, Dion, flat white, yep, how's your mum, how's your grandmum, you know, you trials and tribulations of humans. And I guess I love humans, right? I like how they react, and I like their passion, and that sort of started Single O in my life. And, you know, now I spend my time meeting amazing families and great chefs and you know, and awesome cafe operators that are passionate about wanting to serve and do an amazing job. And Single O is just that, I guess, that vehicle to help them to do that. And I like mentoring people that, you know, because I started with nothing. I came here with zero. My parents came here with zero. So, you know, hard work and motivation, and I guess gymnastics taught me that. You know, like if you're going to do a triple somersault, don't land on your neck and break it. All right, number one, focus to make sure that doesn't happen. And you know, if you put your mind to something, you know, and you really want it, you can, you know, people can achieve anything they want if they're just really motivated and build themselves up as humans to say, I'm capable of this. And that's, you know, I say that every day, right? You know, some days don't work out the way you want them to, but that's life. You know, that's humans and life. And some days you go, you know, that was a great day. I met 3 great people that are passionate about what they do. They love what Single O is to them, and that makes me happy. And I go home, you know. Some days you wake up feeling like, Jesus, don't want to get out of fucking bed, but that's life for you, mate. So.
The depth and breadth of the coffee offering at Single O is legendary. It's extraordinary. Do you have any stories of you know, like accessing beans and where you get the coffee from, like some of your travels? Do you have any of those stories?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it started that, you know, in the days when we started, we could only buy it from like one coffee broker, which is an Australian coffee broker, which, you know, we don't buy from them obviously anymore. 90% of our coffee is bought direct from farms. And over my journey, I think we, you know, funny enough, Emma and I went to Guatemala and went to coffee farms and when we were traveling the world. And this is before we opened up Single O. So, and we didn't sort of realize that it was like 3 years before that. It's like, oh, there's a coffee tree. That looks cool. Like, I wonder what that does, you know? Like, you're totally ignorant with what it is, right? You're just like, you know, I went to Greece the other day and there was just olive trees everywhere, which was amazing. It's like, I didn't realize that Greece was just all olive trees, right? So, you know, you start learning about, you know, the cultures of different countries and what they do and, you know, how they produce and stuff. Anyway, and I met through my travels. I met a lady by the name of Wendy Dion, and Wendy was working in Seattle. She was sort of a barista at Starbucks many years ago, and she was a green bean coffee buyer. And we thought, Emma and I met her. She was on the way to East Timor to help them grow better coffee, to help them produce better coffee. And there was some riots that went on and she didn't end up going there. So I said, come to Australia and hang out with us and show you what we're doing. And she likes skulls. So Wendy liked skulls, and we had this single O skull T-shirt, which she sort of like wrote to me about. It's like, I want one of those T-shirts. I live in America, and blah 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 blah. So anyway, we got a relationship going, and I said, Wens, well, why don't you come and be our green bean buyer, because you have access to all the coffee farmers, which, I mean, she's been in the industry for over 35 years, right? So, and to this day, Wendy still works here and is our head of green coffee, and she travels a lot of the time around to source coffee. I mean, sleeps in tents with scorpions and snakes and, the usual thing about what coffee buyers do. I mean, it's not really for me, to be honest, but, and then every year we take our clients to Costa Rica, to a coffee farm there. We did one recently. Obviously, COVID prevented us from about 3 years of doing that, or 4 years. We started that again. So every year we go and spend a week on a coffee farm, which is La Manita, which is a beautiful estate in Costa Rica. We basically bring our clients there and spend a week understanding coffee growing. I think they drink a lot more than they pick their coffees, because they play these weird games. And I get phoned at 3 a.m. in the morning going, Dion, I love you. Thanks for sending us, mate. It's been the best thing. It's like, dude, I'm in a meeting. Shut up and leave me alone. So, so coffee is, there's lots of components to it, right? I love, Wendy deals with all the farms and the producers. My wife is a green, all about the brand and what we believe in and who we are and what we need to do to be leaders in our industry with me. She's a creative, and I deal with sort of, I'm the front-facing person that deals with clients. I'm basically a psychologist, to be honest. I mean, you every day there's another phone call or another text going, something like that. But, I never thought I was going to be a psychologist, but I landed up being a psychologist, and I'm a psychologist to people, whether it's internally of my business or externally. I don't know if that's a good thing, but that's what I'll end up being. Yeah. So...
You've been a big part, as we discussed earlier, of the maturity of the Australian market. Why do you think the Australian coffee market is so mature and quite unique around the globe?
I think it starts with our culture, right? So, I mean, talking about Melbourne culture, Melbourne's European, it's city, there's no beaches, people hang out in coffee shops, right? They go to wine bars, they've got great restaurants, and I guess Sydney is the opposite of that, is where people, get up early at 4 a.m. and run with their, Pilates outfits or their gym gear and trying to get fit and strong. And then they go and hang out in the cafes and meet their girlfriends or boyfriends. And, and they like to, now it's the matcha trend, which is taking over the world. I think the culture of Australia is to meet someone in an area that's safe and warm and feels good. Brunch is a big thing. So let's meet your mate on a Sunday for a brunch. We're in Japan. We've got a roastery and 5 cafes in Japan, and the word brunch they don't even understand. So, we try to bring Australian coffee culture to Japan, which is like, you can get a coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning. That'd be great, right? Whereas, the Asian countries drink coffee late, and Australia has developed this cafe culture, which is by far one of the greatest cafe cultures on the planet, because that's what we like to do, right? Go for a swim, go for a run, meet your mate for a coffee, talk rubbish, come up with, the next, crypto thing or the next matcha thing, or who knows what goes on right now in this world. But, and that's a place for people to belong to. And our food culture is amazing. I mean, some of the chefs, what they're doing out there from cafes to restaurants is top class. So full respect to the industry and the hospitality people out there doing a lot of great stuff. So, yeah. I don't know if I answered your entire question, mate.
Well, a single O has been responsible for the drinking habits of so many people and the way that they like to drink coffee. As you've influenced that. As someone who has influenced so many people, how do you drink your coffee, and what makes a great coffee for you?
Wow, how do I drink my coffee? That's one of my interview questions. When I meet people, I don't interview much anymore, except for important sort of side, sales and things like that. But If you were a coffee, what would you be? That's what I used to say, and people go like, I don't know, like macchiato or an espresso or something like that. So it's quite interesting what people think. If they were a coffee, what would they be? My take on that would be I don't drink milk. I used to drink milk, and I just, the older you get, milk and lactose and, cheeses and stuff. I love cheese, but, it's not really good for you, but it is good for you. But so I drink black filter coffee and I drink single origin. So I like to taste the complexity of flavour, and I like to taste fruit-driven, interesting processed coffees. And just because every coffee's got its beautiful special note of something, right? You got to buy good coffee, you got to roast it well, and you got to extract it well. I mean, I can give you the best coffee in the world, and you can roast it really badly, and you can extract it really bad, and it's going to taste like shit. So, I wake up in the morning and I put my Breville brewer on there, and I make 2 cups, and one for my wife and one for myself, and I kick the ball to the dog and sit on the balcony and just take it all in. That's just the special time of my morning when no one can disturb me, and then I start my day. And I used to drink a lot of coffee, like maybe 10, 15 cups a day, but, the older you get, I like 2 coffees a day, and, I go out to clients and they go, would you like a coffee? I was like, no, I think I'm okay, thank you. But if I'm going to drink something, it's like wine, right? If you're going to drink a bottle of wine, make it fucking good, right? So I look at it the same as coffee. It's about palate and flavour and texture and it it's that thing that makes you feel good, and it links you back to the producer, which is sort of like someone's taken a lot of time and many years to perfect growing and processing this product. So I'm going to take some time to actually extract it correctly and drink it with, love and care. Yeah.
How does it make you feel sort of, a couple of decades on, having created this sort of rebellious brand that's taken coffee in the direction that it's gone in Australia and so amazingly? How does it make you feel what you've built with Single O?
Yeah, it's a good question, Anthony. I mean, what I'm most proud about is our way that we haven't followed in the same footsteps as every other brand, and that takes a lot. That takes a lot of time, energy, money. Innovation's a big part. We created with 6 Simple Machines the batch taps, which is digital taps that you see in cafes around the country and the world. There's 38 countries in the world that do that. When we were renovating Surrey Hills, Em and I used to go up the road to the Royal Albert every day because it's been on the street and reservoir for 23 years, whatever. And we used to just go there, and it's like, same as the juggler with milk. It's like, why don't we serve filter coffee out of a tap, where you go to a bar and everyone's got like IPA with a little label of what it shows you, and the bartender serves it to you. And I said, well, why don't we turn that around and let people self-serve themselves and take filter coffee or batch brew, instead of you seeing it in the American airpot diner stuff, which is ugly and people think, oh, that's American diner coffee, it's shit, and make it what single origin coffees are about, and elevate that to a self-serve experience that showcases different single origins. So, I'm proud of our innovation, and I'm proud of the sustainability of our business, and I'm super proud of the clients that have taken the time and care to love what we do. I'm a big believer in, you are what you keep. And we're not a brand that is for everyone, but we're a brand for people that believe in sustainability, innovation, expression of their individual selves. And, we have an amazing client base that showcase what Single O is about. And I'm proud of, I guess, everyone goes, oh, wow, you've been so successful, and, what a great brand. And, from a humble point of view, it's like, I just started at the right time. I worked very hard, and I've got great people around me. And I think the most important thing is having good people that are on the same journey as you and that believe in what you believe in, which is you are what you keep. You can't really go wrong because everyone is aligned and everyone wants to be doing something that I guess Single O and the culture that we have here is, when we did like giving a puck campaign, 35, 40 cafes have come on board, Three Blue Ducks, Bills, this one, that one. Within a second they go, wow, yeah, this is amazing. This is what Single O stands for. We want to be part of that. And it's not, you're not selling that. You're just doing what you think is right. And then the rest of the people will sort of follow. And the people that don't follow, I don't give a fuck. Like that's that, like generally speaking, if you don't like what we do, then there's plenty of other options out there for you. But if you love what we do, then we're the right company for you. And we look after people and we are humans and we care and we're trying to do what we think is right for the coffee industry, the planet, and our people. So that's some summary of it, I guess.
It's absolutely extraordinary what you've created and what you continue to do. What do you love about what you do?
What do I love about what I do? I love meeting people. We didn't meet. It's been a few changes in the schedule, but I love seeing people start a business and grow the business, and I get energy when I see other people being successful. So if I could be a small part of helping those people become successful, that's what drives me, right? I think, I love mentoring my sales team or my account management people. A lot of them started as baristas in other cafes, as a driver, and how they've grown and matured as humans, and how they've built their network. We're all 6 degrees of separation or something like that. I just like going out to a restaurant and seeing a mate. It's like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Or, the hospitality industry is like that, you don't want to be on that list and you can't even get into a place to go and eat because no one knows who you are in the hospitality industry. But, and I just love the roller coaster of what people have to go through to learn what their craft and their art is and actually grow and be successful from that. And that's just human interaction. I just like, I like giving advice to people because I've obviously had 23 years of experience. And I like to try and see young, small operators growing. And because I started the same, I started from nothing and grew a business, and I'd love to see lots of other young people do that. And if I can help in any way or shape or form, it gives me satisfaction. Yeah.
Well, Dion, you give Single O and you have given so many people satisfaction for so long now, and an absolute honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds. Finally, please keep in touch. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Anthony. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Stay safe and be well.